This is a clip from the film Ratatouille. The taste of a dish instantly triggers a person's memory of his childhood. Our ability to recall past experience from our mind is incredible. So, 70 years ago, brain scientists started to ask the question, where are our memories formed and stored in the brain? This video will mainly focus on what scientists have learned from a special patient about memory in the brain. Patient HM is probably the most famous patient in the history of neuroscience. HM's full name was Henry Molaison, which was only revealed after his death to protect the patient's privacy. He has been suffering from severe brain seizures for 10 years because of a bicycle accident. They had been so debilitating that he could not handle his job normally. On September 1st, 1953, at the age of 27 years old, his life was drastically changed. Neurosurgeons removed a thumb-sized piece of brain tissue from both sides of his medial temporal lobe, aiming at eliminating the seizures that were troubling his life. This experimental procedure was successful. The seizures stopped, but Molaison was left with permanent amnesia. So how did this single case lead to new discoveries about memory? Our knowledge about memory was still rudimentary at the time. It was thought that memory was distributed across brain regions and is integrated with intellectual and perceptual functions. Molaison's tragedy turned out to be one of the most important turning points of neuroscience in the 20th century. The discovery that memory and learning are actually tied to discrete regions in the brain. In 1955, scientists William Scoville and Brenda Milner began studying Molaison and 9 other patients who had undergone similar surgery. These patients with medial temporal lobe lesions had problems with forming new memories. HM underestimated his own age, apologized for forgetting the names of persons to whom he had just been introduced, and described his state as like waking from a dream. Every day is alone in itself. This made scientists conclude that the medial temporal lobe, which the patients have had it lesioned, is important for the formation of new memory. HM had intact intellectual ability, personality, and perceptual functions, despite his problem with generating new memories, which means that the memory is a distinct cerebral function, separable from perception and other cognitive abilities. From different testings with HM, scientists also realized that there exist multiple memory systems. HM was tasked to acquire a visual motor skill. HM was asked to trace the outline of a star, but he could only see his hand and the star as reflected in a mirror. He acquired this task during 10 trials and continued to reduce the number of errors across 3 days. But at the end of the testing, he still had no recollection of having done the task before. This was the first hint that there was more than one kind of memory in the brain, and suggested that some kinds of memory, such as motor skills, lie outside the medial temporal lobe. HM could carry on conversation, read magazines, and he exhibited an intact digit span, which means he could repeat back a string of 6 or 7 digits. This means that his immediate or working memory was intact, which is the ability to hold information in mind for a short period of time. He could also recognize faces of famous people in different decades, but was severely impaired for recognizing faces from the period after his surgery. This surprising observation that HM had access to old memories also motivated research on the topic of remote memory. HM was likely the most studied patient in the history of neuroscience. Even after his death at the age of 82 in 2008, neuroscientists continued to learn from him. His brain was sectioned at UCSD and scanned. The data are available online for all scientists. The study of HM established key principles about how memory is organized that continue to guide the discipline. That is all for the video. I hope you have learned a little bit about our memory, and thanks for listening.